All right, click the links, join the channel here over at Subscribestar. I got a mailbox. You want to mail me some comics. So comics used to be cool. Now they don't even skate, bro. We're going to take a look at this, but before we go into this Spider-Man cringe, whatever, soy Spider-Man. God, I mean, it's like they take that Wojak theme and they just freaking run with it. The soy jack is supposed to be an insult, and then these idiot comic writers, they look at this and go, wait a minute, that's me. So new comics are diverse abortions written by these sodomizing soy boy cucks. Comics used to be written by mostly normal people. Yes, they were always left-wing, but left-wing 6 years ago was an entirely different left-wing. And even that image now would probably be problematic for today's very sensitive tampon-wearing soy boy. The thing is, even back then, they could still connect to right-wing kids without being too cringy. And so to refresh myself dealing with this like reboot of Spider-Man, nobody cares. No, I mean, like, just it's with comics or with movies or with a lot of stuff. When I say they're over, like for movies especially, when I say it's over, there's no way to turn it around, and they don't want to turn it around. And I think Marvel and DC, Image, and Dark Knight, they're definitely in the same boat. That's why Comicsgate was able to find a successful marketplace where people are willing to pay $40 to $60 on average for Comicsgate comics, because the mainstream stuff is so bad. And, partially they want to be fun, have a little fun to join the network and kind of give back to people who've been entertaining you on live streams and stuff like that. So I've read actually all the Doc Savage's books, and they are over the top ridiculous, but they and the comics work. And this comic is like, Doc Savage is an example of something that's like over the top even for a comic of the time period. So they sent out to tell this adventure story about them versus some South American snake cult, and they did. It kind of reminds me of Ravage, Kill All Men, that what's his face did. I was talking about it yesterday. That is a great story. I don't know if you followed that up or what. I have that comic. I don't know if you did that. I think All About the Book sent me. Thank you for that. The thing is, they set out to tell these fun, simple stories of a half a dozen of Doc Savage's men versus the snake cult of South America. And the goal of a lot of storytelling is just tell a simple story, but do the best job you can with that simple story. And do that for years until you start to become a master storyteller, and the stories can get a little bit more complicated. The problem with a lot of stuff with movies and comics today is you have people who are not master craftsmen, storytellers, and they're trying to tell, like, subvert expectations. And you look at them and you just have to go, honestly, it's like, dude, you need another 40 years of writing to you're probably never going to be a master storyteller, but you're jumping to the end of the line and trying to subvert expectations. You're not there yet. You might not ever be there. Just tell the simple story well. And they go, no, but we have to put all this globalist propaganda in there. So subverting expectations is a way of telling a dissatisfying story, but as long as it has propaganda in there, a lot of the leftists will accept it. The thing is, a story like this is from 72 is still entertaining today. They're going around and having their adventures, and Doc Savage is dressed like Liberace for some reason. So that was a little weird. But, 1972, there was a lot of pharmaceuticals flowing around. Can you tell the story today? Yes, but no mainstream publisher would allow something like that. It's problematic. Yikes, my guy. I need to dilate my butt plug. Because the men in the story are, some of them are Irish, English, German, Swedish, Scotsman, whatever. They are diverse, but not to a globalist soy boy who needs to replace everyone with usually specifically black people, black, trans, furry, lesbian, otherkin type of stuff. But I don't want that, because diversity is cringe. I just want to see the comic like it was. Hugo Boss wants to invade Poland, says what? How do they always know what I'm wearing? Listen, diversity is cringe and it's lame. More people just need to be honest about it. You have to say it with a straight face, or with no hint that you're opening up a can of worms when you say this kind of stuff on Twitter. You got to put the words out there kind of as bait for the soy boys to bite on, but also just to put the ideas out in the universe that, hey, this is how somebody feels. Other people see that and go, I kind of feel the same way. I'm pretty well done with diversity. And yeah, they'll ad hominem you and attack you and strawman and deflect, but it's like it's just an opinion on the stories you want to see. Just put the ideas out there, move the window as far to the right as possible. I personally have PTSD from Pox, Walks, Woke, SJW, Purse Puppy, Mary Sue stories, so I don't read diversity. The stories don't make sense to me, especially after all the anti-white racist propaganda we've been seeing over the past few years and, really a few decades. I need stories to be a safe space to escape from this present day globalist nightmare. Are we allowed safe spaces from diversity? Not in modern comics, no. So we have to read the old stuff, which is better anyway. And it's weird that diversity only works one way. In the Wakanda Black Panther comic, and then Shuri had her own spinoff, which kind of weird because I don't think Black Panther was selling too well, and then they had a Shuri spinoff, which I think went for a dozen issues. That probably was not selling too well. The thing is, you only got sub-Saharan Africans in the story. Where are the Chinese, the Dutch, the Germans, the Russians? Why don't they get representation in these African stories? It only works one way. Why is Wakanda allowed to be tribal, but the Europeans are not? And I think Marvel and DC also did Asian comics, where there's a couple of runs where it's just a group of Asian people. And I look at that, oh, that's cool. You got Africans doing their thing, Asians doing their thing. Why can't the Irish do their things, or the Swedish, or the Vikings, or just the Europeans doing their things? How can we get comics like that? And they look at you like, what are you some kind of istophobe? You go, but you just did the comics for the Africans and for the Asians. Like, what about the Europeans? Like, no, they have to be diverse. Okay, you're not. I don't think you're listening here. If the Asians and the Africans don't have to be diverse, why can't the? Obviously, you're talking a brick wall when you're talking to these people, because fundamentally, when it boils down to it, they just hate you. Like, it's really not deeper than that. They just hate you. So in the Shuri comic, she visits her pantheon, and it's all sub-Saharan Africans who look like her, obviously, because that's who her people are. But in the Marvels pantheon, whether it's the Scandinavian or the Mediterranean, for one of them, where they go to Valhalla in the comics and the movies, if you remember Thor, it's so you got a mix of the people who are there, but then you also have Middle Eastern, people who should be the Scandinavians. But you also have Middle Eastern people, Chinese, and sub-Saharan Africans in the Scandinavian pantheon of the North gods and Norse mythology. It's a religion that's still practiced to this day. In fact, it's actually growing. It's weird that one group gets digital genocide, but the other is respected. It's as if the people who make comics are just anti-European for some wacky reason. Can we get some comics for us, like Black Panther is for them? Can we get comics that tell our story with our people? Does it all have to be globalist, found family, Bolshevik, Frankfurt School, Saul Alinsky, cancer all the time? Of course, you can't get comics free. That's exactly what the Austrian corporal would have wanted. He was an artist, and he was drawing comics like that. That's none of the things they say makes sense. Everything, and for them, everything goes back to World War II. It's like they use that as their argument, and they use there's a rule on social media, like how fast a leftist has to invoke World War II. But not Rule 34. That's something else. The thing is, so your choice is old comics or Comicsgate, because everything new is written by soy boys. It's Chuck Wendig and Mark Waid all the way down. Just absolute twats. Anyway, so they have this Spider-Man soy comic where he's got a new spider boyfriend, and the black spider will be superior in every way because naturally it's, yikes my guy, it's current year. Diversity and representation. Yeah, and the fair one will be a soy mouth, Wojak, Chuck Wendig level of soy drinking pussy. It doesn't matter what they call it or how many times it's rebooted. It's written by pussies who hate their audience. So number one will sell for the collectors, and the soy people make a big deal about it on Twitter, and then it gets canceled, and they're probably going to blame the audience, and then rebooted with another idiot writer who hates men and his European audience, is trying to sell to a BLT audience, a non-European audience that doesn't exist, so it gets canceled, and then they blame the European audience, the ones they deliberately alienated and dehumanized in the comic, for not buying the comic that was marginalizing and oppressing the beautiful people of the light. Why would they buy it? The mainstream is so bad that it was able to give rise to Comicsgate, which is pretty impressive. Modern comics are not organic stories. They take organic stories and they rewrite them to push globalist propaganda. For example, with the Doc Savage story, if you set out something similar today and you went to a mainstream publisher, the cat lady Heather Antoses of the world would say, yes, but let's swap out the European men for African, Pakistani, trans BLTs or poxwalks, whatever. And instead of going to a problematic South American snake cult, let's have them go to Montana to fight the evil blonde biker gangs and to burn the quiet, peaceful Hugo Boss town down to the ground. Well, here's the thing about the culture war. And these cat ladies and soy Twitter boys, they say this kind of stuff all the time. They very much do not want you to speak out against it. They go like, yikes, my guy, if you don't like it, just don't talk about it. It's like, no, that's in the past. You have to get a... And, they get mad at people defending Elon Musk and they show a meme of people jumping in front of a bullet to save Elon. You realize, like, so you're saving $1 billion Marvel and DC comics from criticism, from a guy, as I would have started 7 years ago, sitting in his Kia with holding a comic in one hand and his cell phone in the other. He didn't even get a gimbal or a tripod or anything or do screen cap. He was just holding it and talking about comics. Like, yeah, this guy's a massive threat to the industry. We need to destroy him. And they did, because it's like that's how they saw the world. The thing is, they don't want any criticism, because the criticism of the comics, those are their Bolshevik ideas. That is the Frankfurt School come to life. That's how they, like, the facets of the crystals of the culture war. It's like that's one of the crystals is in comic books and in movies. The thing is, you have to very clearly speak up about this and say that you don't want diversity. You're sick of the anti-white racism. It's just so hateful and bigoted, and the anti-Christian stuff and the misandrist hatred. You have to put all these words out there to normalize the concept of these words, so people realize, oh, there's other people who are noticing all this bizarre anti-white hatred going on there. That's like everyone bad is green or blue-eyed or red or blonde-haired. You got to put the ideas out into the cultural sphere so other people pick up on them. And if you're going to, for these stupid comics, if they're going to put diversity in the story, can you make the bad guys not European every single time? You can make them any other group of people, but every single time it's blue or green-eyed people. And it's whether it's in the comics or the movie, even to the extent if they have to dye somebody's hair blonde, if the actor's actually, Latino or actor, like they'll dye his hair blonde so they know, like, this is the Aryan stereotype that you need to hate. You have to speak up to give other people the courage to speak up and to help push that window as far to the right as possible. You look at these modern comics and then you go online, you find the old stuff, and it's like even the art was better back then. That was like the 4-color print process, what they call it, like the weird combinations where they're really limited. It's like they did a lot with that, that Kirby art, the real busy backgrounds and the 4 colors. God, that stuff was so friggin' fantastic. And then you look at the new stuff, like you guys have better technology, better tools, better paper, glossy covers. You have every trick in the book. And the effed up thing is you see guys like, who's the Cyberfrog guy? The Cyberfrog guy puts out a comic with just the most beautiful cover and publishing. And yeah, the art and the story is fine too. But he takes all the tech possible and gives it to you in this comic. And Comicsgate people are taking advantage of this technology to use. Who's his artist? The deaf guy who does the art for and he got a comic out himself that was actually very successful. He's the deaf guy who does comics, the coloring. Kyle Ritten, I think, does the. I guess I could look it up. I have the comic sitting across the room. The Comicsgate takes all this technology and uses it. It's like, yes, the comics are, after the comic and a sticker, it's like it's probably going to be $40. But and then you look at the mainstream, like, why are people spending the average comic? I remember this from years ago when Jawbreakers came out. The average price point was like $40, and for Cyberfrog, the average was $60. That's a lot of money to spend for a 148-page comic. And then you look at the modern stuff, you go like, oh, okay, well, the modern stuff is crap, but but Comicsgate is fun, and it's a way to support people. You've been listening to their shows for free for years, and it's like, okay, fine, if I pay one guy. If I support 3 or 4 comics a year, it's like less than $150. It's like, okay, it's fine. It's a good thank you. And especially, it's like they don't hate you. That's probably one of the differences. Is like they just don't hate the audience. You look at Marvel, DC, Dark Knight, and Image, and you go like, they hate you. They literally hate you if you're from the wrong part of the world, or Christian, or vaguely conservative, or blonde, blonde, red hair, green, or blue eyes. It's like it really does boil down to hair color and eye color for modern comics. Anyway, likes, comments, subscribe. I got a mailbox. Thanks to everyone who's been sending the cool little pocket knives, the beanies, the comics, the envelope from JB, and the new Bible. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys all next episode.